Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited today because I'm going to be talking all about the IVF medications that I had to take as a surrogate. Right now I am 28 weeks, and so these IVF medications and calendar. So let's just jump right into the video. Okay. So I guess I'm like the type A personality, and I needed to be super organized. So my medications list and my medication calendars, I laminated all of them. I also had an app, which I think it was called MediSafe, which is a really good app to remind you when to take certain medications. Like, they literally have every medication on there. Definitely check it out. It's a really awesome app and it's free. So the fertility clinic that we were using was called CT Fertility. They're actually not in business anymore, but the doctor is trying to open his own branch, I think. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah. So essentially what happens right after contracts are signed, you get a phone call from the clinic saying you're going to start medications on this day. And I think the first day I was supposed to start them was on a Sunday, June 10th, 2018, and our scheduled transfer was July 19th, yes, 2018. I'm going to go over the list of medications that I took, and then I'm going to go over the calendar and kind of explain everything. The first thing I was supposed to take was birth control, and I was already on birth control, so specifically the birth control pill. They wanted me to start out on that. They also wanted me to take a home pregnancy test and send a picture into them just to make sure that I wasn't pregnant, which I thought was like a good idea, just to be safe. Okay, so I'm just gonna list down the medications, and then I'll explain when I had to take them and which ones I had to start with. So I had to take prednisone, I had to take prenatal vitamins, I had to take estrogen, which was done intermuscular, I can't really say that word, but with a needle, so that was a shot. So I had to take estrogen, which was a shot. I had to take Cranone, which was a gel, and that was deposited vaginally twice a day. And then I had to take azithromycin, I hope I'm saying that right. And then I also had to take they say it's called Lupride or Luprilide, but you can call it Lupron. That was also an injection. Okay, so those were all the medications that I was supposed to take. That was 6 medications, and like it really kind of like depends on your clinic, but that's like average, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the calendars. All right, so these are what the calendars looked like. Now, the reason why I have multiple calendars, I actually have 4, is because they would change as your body changed to the medications. So they give you your first calendar, which is this one, and as you're taking the medications and they're monitoring your lining, because what they want to do is build up your uterine lining to hold that little embryo in there. So they kind of like adjust your med calendar as needed. But the first thing that they want to do is see what your baseline is. So see what your uterus looks like without any lining in it. So that's why they have you start the birth control. So my first calendar, I was to start birth control on June 6th, and I was supposed to take that for 9 days. So that was supposed to start on June 6th, and then which was a Wednesday, and then on that Friday I was supposed to take a at-home pregnancy test, send them a picture so that everything was a go. And then that Sunday I was supposed to take my first Lupron shot of 10 units, which is in the stomach subcutaneously, and also start taking prenatal vitamins. So that needle, I don't have anymore because I actually gave them to my midwife, but it looks like an insulin needle. So it's probably, the whole actual system is like this long, and the needle is probably like, it's not even that long. So it really like, it was really mind over matter, but it was fine. And you were kind of supposed to take that like in your general like kind of lower, below the belly button kind of range, and you literally just pinch some of the fat on your belly, and you just stabbed, injected, and you were good to go. It literally, you can see that I was crossing everything out, but the med calendar, you follow that to the T. Like, I am not even joking. So then I stopped birth control on that Friday. Then they wanted you to wait for a period. And then, so my expected period was supposed to be June 17th, and I think I got it. I didn't write it down when I was supposed to get it, but my first monitoring appointment was scheduled for June 19th. So that's when they wanted to check, suppression check. I had to say that 17 times. And they want to see how thin your lining is, and you know, how everything's doing. So I went to that appointment. Everything was fine. You know, we were all excited. We could keep going and start. So then on that Friday, June 22nd, I started I still had to do the Lupron, but I had to go down to 5 units. And then I had to start, let's see, what was that? They have like abbreviations here, so I just have to, then I was supposed to start the estrogen, yes, which was intermuscular, I'm not very good with the words, but that was like right in your love handle. So that was like the really big needle, or like syringe, and then the even bigger needle. So that thing was like, it was pretty scary, and the needle was like really thick, and there was also 2 needles. So there was the drop needle, which was like really thick, and then there was the injection needle, which was still an inch long, so about like this long. It's pretty long, and I don't really have a lot of fat back there. Yeah. So then I was supposed to do that and keep following my med calendar. So at that point they had sent me a new med calendar, this one, which was a little shorter because we had just started the estrogen. So I was supposed to do the estrogen every 2 days. So I didn't actually have to shoot myself in the bum every day, which is really common in surrogacy. Most of the time you have to shoot yourself every day in the bum, and like you can get like some pretty bad knots. I didn't really have too much issues with that. So I was still taking the Lupron, but I was only taking 5 units. So I was taking that every day, and then the estrogen every 2 days, and a prenatal vitamin every day. Then they wanted me to change my estrogen dosage after about a week of that. And then I was supposed to like keep going with that same calendar until my next appointment, which was a lining check. So that first lining check is like really critical, because if your lining hasn't responded really at all, then they like know that they need to either give you more meds or adjust your meds or whatever. Like really the doctors kind of like know more about that than I do. Was like a really crucial point for us, and I think that they wanted it to be, I wish I remembered what the thickness was, but I feel like it was supposed to be like around an 8 or a 10 millimeter thickness, but they did it all through ultrasound, and it's like really tedious because you go to the clinic and the lady actually who's doing the ultrasound can't actually tell you. My camera just died. Okay, so the lady actually can't tell you what your lining is because like she's not part of your clinic, so you literally have to wait like a couple of hours for your actual results, which is like horrible. But my results ended up being fine. I think I was around a 10 millimeter. I can't really remember, but I know that I was in the clear. So then they sent me another calendar, which was even more detailed. I was still taking Lupron every day, and I took all these in the evening. I feel like it was much easier to take them in the evening. I didn't get as many like side effects from them. There definitely are a lot of side effects to these medications, but I kind of slept through them, or so I thought. I'm not really sure because I didn't really have any. But I took these kind of like right before I went to bed. But I did have to take these at pretty much exactly the same time every night so that my body, like, you know, was conditioned to it. Then I started on Saturday, July 14th, I started the Cranone application twice a day. So this was a vaginal insert of gel twice a day. So like that was a Saturday. So then the Sunday I had to start taking azithromycin and prednisone and my prenatal vitamin, and okay, I had stopped Lupron the day that I had also started the Cranone. So I was only doing one shot because I was still doing the Del estrogen every 2 days, but I was doing Cranone twice a day, and then they wanted me to start the azithromycin, prednisone, and prenatal vitamins. So azithromycin can treat various types of infections. So it was essentially like a prophylactic drug that they wanted me to take. Prednisone is an anti-inflammatory drug that they also wanted me to take. And I was only supposed to take the azithromycin for about 5 days, and the prednisone was 2 weeks that I had to take that. And those were like kind of yucky. My stomach always just felt really yucky. So we were getting really close to embryo transfer. Now remember, embryo transfer, is July 19th, 2018. So we're all like super excited at this point. I wasn't supposed to go in for another one until after embryo transfer. So as you can see here, this was the embryo transfer day. I have it like all marked up. So the embryo that we transferred, we only transferred one embryo, and this is what it looked like. I was told that this, I don't know if it's like in focus, but I was told that this is a really good embryo because it's already trying to hatch. So that means that it's like already pretty viable, which is like really good. So I'll explain a little bit about embryo transfer now. So essentially what happens is I took all my medications like I was supposed to that day, and no, I think the only thing I was gonna do was eat a pineapple core after the transfer. So we traveled down to the clinic, which was in Connecticut, and waited for our appointment, and you did have to wear like a gown. We were able to go kind of peek into the room where they kept the embryos. It was like super sterile, and it was pretty much just like a pap. You definitely are really exposed because you're facing the room where all the embryos are in, and you're, you know, kind of like spread eagle in this room, and doctors are coming in and out. It's a little bit exposing or whatever, but it's all for a good cause. The doctor was like really great, and you know, like explained everything that he was doing. So first what they did was they checked for ultrasound to see how thick my lining was, and my lining was actually so thick that they could see it through the ultrasound, which I was told that that's like really good, and it meant that I was like nice and ready to hold that embryo for the intended parents. So everybody was really excited. Then what we got to see is they changed the screen to where the doctor in the other room was going to suck up the embryo with like this tool, and so we got to watch it. It was literally just kind of like vibrating in this little petri dish, but it was like zoomed in, so it looked really big, but it, you know, isn't. And you saw the little syringe go in, and it sucked the little embryo out, and then he came in with the doctor, and the doctor was right there with me, and they inserted it. It took a little bit for him to get the catheter up into my uterus. He said that everybody's kind of anatomy is like different, so you know, you had to kind of get it around a corner, but that didn't seem to affect anything, and it wasn't painful. Like, I could see everything because they were also doing the ultrasound at the same time, so we could see. And then the doctor said to watch for a white blip, and that would be the embryo going right into my uterus. And they put it, so your uterus is kind of like a triangle, and they put it right directly in the middle. And so we saw the little blip, and I mean, I didn't feel anything, you know, because it's way too small. And they took the catheter out, and then the doctor went back into the other room to double check the catheter to make sure that the embryo had actually removed from the catheter, because embryos are super, super sticky, he said, and a lot of times they actually just stick to the catheter, so they double checked to make sure that it came out. And he came back in and said everything was great. And then I was able to get dressed, go to the bathroom, and then they had me with my feet just kind of up a little bit, nothing like drastic, for about, I think, 20 minutes. And then I was able to go about my day, and they really said the only thing that we were restricted on was intercourse, and I couldn't like lift anything major, but they really just wanted, they really just wanted me to go about my day-to-day life, because if we were actually naturally trying, you don't like actually know when the embryo implants, so you would just be naturally doing what you would be doing. So that was like super, super fun. Okay, so I hope I got everything for the embryo transfer. Everybody was like so excited that, you know, we were all like, oh my God, are we pregnant? So then after the embryo transfer, I was still taking the Crenone twice a day, the Estrogen every 2 days, the prednisone, and the prenatal vitamins. So I was doing that for about another week until July 30th, which was my first beta day. So they meant beta levels by how high your HCG levels are in your blood. So I could take an at-home pregnancy test anytime in that week, but the clinic didn't actually consider me pregnant until my first beta blood draw, because they want your beta numbers to be, I think it's over 80 or over 100. So my first beta number was 184, and then my second beta, they want it to at least double your second time, and the second time that they draw blood, so this was like my last calendar, the second time that they draw blood is 3 days after the first HCG number. So the first one again was 184, and then the second beta I had was 567, and then the third beta that I had was 1,993, and that was 15 days past transfer, DPT. And we had a heartbeat ultrasound scheduled for August 17th, and I was due April 6th, 2019, which I still am. So we were super, super excited. Now, I was still taking, after all those beta numbers, still taking the Estrogen every 2 days, the Crenone twice a day. I'd stopped taking the prednisone and the azithromycin, but I was still taking my prenatal vitamin. I had to take, my camera died again. I'm not really sure when it ended, but I had to take 3 drugs after my last beta for up until I was 11 or 12 weeks along, which that's actually a little bit longer than most clinics. Most clinics will let you go 8 to 10 weeks, but ours was 12 weeks. And it did kind of get like tedious after a while, but it was really worth it. The hard part was that I was also going through that first trimester yuckiness and doing injections and like vaginal suppositories, so that was a little bit like ugh. But it really like wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So the fun part was I actually took a pregnancy test at 5 days past my transfer. So I didn't tell the intended parents, I just took one, and then when I saw that it was positive, I of course instantly like showed it to them. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, like super, super excited. That was really fun. It was like such a fun process. Like, and it still is, like I'm still in it 28 weeks. 28 weeks. But it definitely, like, definitely get organized. Like, you have to, because if you're not, like, you're gonna miss medication or a shot or whatever. And if you miss a medication, that can like drastically change your lining, it can change your transfer date, it can change a lot of things. I do want to note that I didn't miss any injections, but I missed that I was supposed to change a dosage of one, and I instantly emailed my clinic. Like, I was freaking out that I had totally screwed everything up, but they had reassured me that it was fine to just keep doing what I was doing. I did have to call the pharmacy at least a couple times for refills, but it was completely seamless and really easy to do. The pharmacy people were really, really sweet. I'll try to link it down below if I can find it, but they were just awesome. And you could call them like at any time. You could even call your local pharmacy too if you had like questions, but this was like a specific, you know, IVF pharmacy. These drugs are also drugs that you would be taking even if you're not a surrogate. So like, even if you're doing just plain IVF with your own embryo, this is another protocol that like a doctor might use. There are different protocols, but this was my protocol, and I was really happy with it. And if we ever do this again, I would really request to do this same exact med calendar, because I really liked it, and I had minimal reactions and minimal bumps and lumps from the injections. So I would definitely do that again. Trying to think if there's anything else to tell you guys. Like, I hope that this was really informative and interesting. It definitely was interesting for me, and I'm still like learning a lot about like IVF and kind of that whole process. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for watching.